Hi, my name is Lisa Berberette, better known as the Pumpkin Lady, and over the last 10 years as a professional pumpkin carver, I've learned more than a few tips and tricks on the art of carving pumpkins. Now, we already created a series of videos about the basics of pumpkin carving, and I promised you that we would talk about the next level. When you've got the basics of the jack-o'-lantern down, I want you to learn about shading the pumpkins. Some people call it etching, and it's a matter of using these little tools, these little wood carving tools, to peel away the surface of the pumpkin. It gives you a lot of different depth and dimension of color, and it's what I use to create portrait patterns from, or just beautiful fall designs all around the pumpkin. They light amazingly well, gorgeous for any centerpiece or as a focal point on your porch this Halloween. So let's get started. As you can see, I've already got my little pattern. I've chosen a little leaf design, just something more autumn related. And just like you would for a regular pumpkin carving, I've already gone ahead and poked out the little pumpkin pattern. I'm going to finish poking out the stem as we speak. And that is already transferred onto the pumpkin. We'll peel away the pattern. It's always good to keep the pattern around. You can use it as a little reference for you if you get stuck along the way. Now, I'm not sure how well you can see this with the camera right now, but I've got my leaf traced onto the pumpkin. Now, here's the thing. When you're using wood carving tools, and that's what I use to etch the surface of the pumpkin, there's two different shapes. You have a U-shaped blade on one type, and you have a little V-groove. The U-shape's going to make nice, smooth grooves, but the V is nice. You can kind of make some different patterns if you have a larger design, like a background area you want to put some cool designs on. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people, once they've got their pattern on, will just start scraping into the surface of the pumpkin. Now, that's fine. It does a great job. The issue is that sometimes you can overcut. It'll scrape away. Sometimes it'll break and make a really irregular design. Here's the tip. Once you've got your pattern on, take a utility knife and go ahead and outline the pattern one more time. What's going to happen is when you go to shade away that surface of the pumpkin, when it gets to the edge, it's going to make a very nice, clean line. It's going to break evenly right at the edge without leaving all the jagged lines. Now, if you're doing a little spooky pumpkin, that might be great. You might want that jagged edge. But if you're doing a nice, elegant fall leaf design, you're going to want it to be a nice, smooth finish on the outside of that leaf pattern. Now, for this one, I'm going to choose my little curved blade. See, it's about 1/4 inch wide, has a little U-shaped curve to it. You can pick these tools up at your local hardware store. Now, I am doing this on a tabletop. Honestly, I would normally just sit on the floor with this curled into my lap because your lap makes a nice sturdy base. You notice it's kind of rolling a little bit on the table. But for you today, we're going to try it up here on the table surface, and I'm going to get real close to that edge and go really slowly. And as you can see, I'm just taking off the outer surface of the pumpkin. You don't need to go deep, not at the beginning anyway. The idea is at the very beginning, you just want to remove that surface layer as best you can, and then if you want to remove more, light the pumpkin first. You can see at that point how well it glows. If you want it to glow a little bit more brightly, you just keep going and you shave down a little bit further into the pumpkin surface. And you can just keep taking off it layer by layer. And like I said, this is much easier if you have this kind of stabilized in your lap rather than rolling on the surface of a table. It makes it a little more difficult to carve. And if, it does start to go over the edges, when you're done, you can simply take that utility knife, go right back onto the edges, and you can use it to kind of clean it up a little bit. Sometimes you can use the utility knife to make a nice clean edge. It'll take off little pieces. You don't want to use it for the entire surface, but just maybe in the corners where the U-shaped blade doesn't reach, you can continue with that utility knife to get the shape that you want. Now, I can keep going on this and take all the time in the world to cut out a leaf shape, but now that you have the basic idea of how to etch into the surface of the pumpkin, I want to take you one step further. Now, we have a very special pumpkin that I've used a picture frame on. It's one of my favorite designs. I'm going to set this one aside. This was a picture of a pet that I had long ago. You can use, this would be great for a wedding centerpiece to use for the bride and groom, a picture of your child. What we did was take a little tabletop frame. I simply cut a hole that matched the size of the back of my frame into the pumpkin. And then what I did was I kind of did the same thing as I did with the leaf pattern, except I kind of free-handed the design. I chose a little swirl from inside the frame and I used it to etch around the edging. Now this is going to give you a beautiful, elegant design. So you can see you can keep it simple, as with starting my little leaf over here, or you can take it all the way to the top if you have a grand, wedding for the fall, or a special occasion, an anniversary, or you just want a showstopper centerpiece for your Halloween party. Now I hope you will take these ideas and maybe send me pictures of a few of your own. They're really beautiful at night when they're glowing on your front hall or on the front porch. And I'd love to see what you come up with as well. I'm Lisa Berberette, the Pumpkin Lady. For more ideas and for patterns like these, you can go to www.pumpkinlady.com. I'd love to hear from you. Happy carving.